Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning to you. Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, or good midnight to you, depending on the place on earth you are. My name is Neros. I'm today's host for our webinar series, for the first webinar on our series on thinking about what businesses can do in the current situation. Because we are facing quite a big challenge. Not only the business world, all the world is facing the really big challenge regarding this coronavirus. And today I'm joined by some big TOC names like Odette and Elena. And hi, Odette. Can you say something?
Hi.
Yeah, we hear you. We're glad to have you here. So what are we going to do and how our flow will look like today? First, it's...
Okay.
Oh, hello.
Do you hear me, Nereus?
Yes, we hear you.
Nereus?
Yes.
Nereus?
Yes, Yelena, we hear you.
Excellent. So, well, Adel is here. He's saying hi, and I'm also saying hi. And just you start, and then we will take over you. Okay, and hello to everybody.
Yes, so basically our agenda today is, first I will tell a little bit about TOCpreneur project, and then we'll go into our today's topic, which is first steps when reacting to current crisis. Then we will talk about how to identify the constraint in current situation. And we'll talk about cash flow management a little bit, because it doesn't matter what state the business is, cash flow management is really important. And then I will hand over to Yelena, and she will talk about, is it really cash constraint or market constraint? And then we'll talk about how to use the cash buffer in managing cash constraint organizations. The situation is that we are using the new tool, the new for me, the Zoom this time, but I hope there will be no big hiccups. And of course, everybody can ask the questions in the question box, and we'll try to answer those questions at the end of the webinar. By the way, I have the question, do you hear me? Because I talk, so if somebody can, in the question box, react if you hear us, me or Yelena. Okay, Andrew says he's hearing us. As Andrei, thank you. Good. So it took me some time to convince Yelena and Odette to go a little bit more interactive, and I mean online, because really I'm not sure that if becoming really good expert on TOC, you can do it online, because you need lots of iterations and feedback. But we decided to launch the TOCpreneur.com project. Why? Because, well, one of my passions is like adapting big company methodologies to really small, small and medium enterprises. And when I talk about small businesses, I talk about like Lithuanian small, because Lithuania is like less than 3 million people. So for us, understanding what is the small business is a little bit different than understanding of like US. And I remember somebody on one of the TOC conferences during his presentation said that, okay, let's take as an example some small company like 200 people and $20 million annual sales. And, you know, for Lithuania, it's not a small company. So I really like, and I try to adapt Lean, which comes from the Toyota, which is not small company, and you know TOC. I think it's again more focused for the big companies, but adapting those methodologies for the really small and micro businesses. Why? Because according to the World Bank, small and medium enterprises play a major role in most economies, especially in developing countries. And Lithuania, okay, maybe now we are not so much developing, we are becoming more developed, but for the last 30 years we were developing country. And, you know, the small and medium enterprises really, in some countries, represents like 90% of the businesses and provides, even in Lithuania at the moment, it provides more than 60% of employment. And it contributes significant part of GDP. So, you know, I really want to help small and medium companies. Although one of my current roles is the sitting on the on the supervisory board of one of the biggest group of the companies in Lithuania. It's a HEMA group. But still, my passion is with the small businesses. And we know that TOC is widely known and effective for any businesses. So, you know, I see here quite a lot of big experts on TOC who joined us today. But, you know, I'm glad to have you here, but our TOC, this TOCpreneur project is really focused on small and medium enterprises. Probably it's not so much new development of TOC you will hear, but it's more like application for small and medium businesses. But we are glad to have you here, and you can register on our platform, tocpreneur.com, where all our free webinars will be published. And you'll get the materials, quite a lot of materials for free. And as well, we will launch the TOC program, the online program, really focused for small and medium enterprises, and especially for entrepreneurs. So what is the situation now with in the world? Yeah. Well, quite many countries are really on quarantine. Now Lithuania launched or announced the quarantine on 13th of March, and yesterday it was prolonged till Easter. So the country will be on quarantine at least for 1 month. And probably we expect that current quarantine will continue till the 1st of May. Due to this virus, and quite many supply chains are really broken, and many companies are really closed down, and or their production capacities are really significantly reduced. And many companies are experiencing nosediving sales. I'm not talking about the companies which are really closed, because in Lithuania, for example, and in many other countries, some businesses, some like shops, non-food shops are really closed. They are not operating, at least on bricks and mortars. Only online sales are living, and we have total uncertainty. Nobody knows how the life looks like, in nearest future. I'm not talking about half a year. I'm talking about in few days. And many companies, big companies, but especially small companies, are faced with a cash drain. So it's really like, it feels like, you know, like we are at the war, and the war where enemy is really, we don't see that enemy, but when we talk and when we hear the government officials talking, and when we hear reports, it's really like from the battlefield. So when at war, yeah, we really feel, and we need to really change our modus operandi. And but again, the life, okay, this VUCA, this complexity, volatility, ambiguity, and uncertainty, became much more real. But I did some research, and I was really surprised that the concept of VUCA came not from the business consultants. It came from, you know, military official, not official, but military strategists. And basically that they were first ones to verbalize those VUCA and those wording. So, you know, and if we are at war, so maybe we can learn something from the guys who fight and who has experience in the environments like that. And this is the quote from the book written by Jocko Willing, the guy who was in charge of Navy SEALs in Iraq fighting the terrorists. And for the situations like that, he had a very, very nice advice, you know, that that basically you need to do the prioritize and execute, because even the greatest of battlefield leaders could not handle an array of challenges simultaneously without becoming overwhelmed. That risked failing at them all. I had to remain calm, step back from my immediate emotional reaction, and determine the greatest priority for the team. Then rapidly direct the team to attack that priority. And, you know, during those times of crisis, emotions really take over, but decisions made and actions made or driven by emotions quite often are not the right ones. So let's look into what the right steps we need to do during that crisis. Yeah? In French, they have the à la guerre comme à la guerre saying, which is at war as at war. So at the moment, quite many companies, they need to focus on survival, and long-term strategy can wait, really. And when you have, well, you are at the battlefield, so quick evaluation of the situation, good decisions and action, that's the key for survival. So the first steps, what you need to do really, ensure the physical security. Take care of your health and safety. Yes, I know everybody is saying that, but please, despite the, oh, I know, and don't feel that you're bulletproof, the virus proof, and so on. Really be over paranoid there. So really take care of your health and safety. Ensure the health and safety of your family, of your employees, of your customers, or it should be of your customers, and take care of the safety of your assets. Make sure your goods, finished goods, raw materials, are secured. If your premises are closed, make sure that it's closed, the alarms are on, and you've signed the contract with the security companies. So really ensure. But if your business is not stopped, so let's continue. Let's then apply the 5 focusing steps. Yes, because that's one of the things I learned during the TOC training, that despite any situation, and if you're faced with the unknown, just really focus, follow the process. So we need to identify the system's constraint, decide how to exploit the system's constraint, subordinate everything else to above decision, and we need to elevate the system's constraint. And if the constraint is broken, we need to go back to step 1, but do not allow inertia to cause the system constraint. So now the first step we need really to check in any business, especially small business, we need to check what is the situation with the cash. Why? Because bankruptcy is not the result of lack of profit. It's a result of shortage of cash. So cash is still the king. If you don't have enough cash, sorry, your life, the life of the company is really in danger. Now, first of all, you really need to ensure, and cash flow management it's really important and like never before. Now, because again, lack of profit kills companies slowly, like a cancer, but lack of cash kills instantly, like heart attack. Limited cash does not mean cash constraint, but poor cash management can lead to the cash constraint or even bankruptcy. So we have the cash flow, we have some cash in the company, and of course we have sales coming in. But again, when the client pays, it's not when we issue the invoice, but when we receive the payment, that's when the cash flow starts. Then we have to pay to our suppliers for totally variable cost, or as we say, TVC in theory of constraints, yes. Then we have operating expenses. And of course, sometimes in the good times, we do the investment, which is not operating expenses, but it really reduces our cash. And if everything is good, we have some retainer we can use to pay the dividends, to increase our reserves, or to do another round of investments. So it's a basic things, but when we talk about the cash flow, this is the data I found on the JP Morgan website. This is their data that half of small businesses hold a cash buffer of less than 1 month. Yeah. So basically, even minor fluctuations in the inflow, and today we're faced not with a minor fluctuation, can really hurt the company. So let's now talk when we can say, is it a cash constraint? We can say that there is the cash constraint only when all those conditions are met. First of all, we have to have sufficient orders. Because if your sales went down because there are not enough clients, it is not the cash constraint. Yes, you are faced with a significant cash drainage, but your situation is not the cash constraint. Because if we are facing on the wrong constraint, or we're facing or trying to solve the wrong problem, we will be taking wrong actions. So we need to have sufficient orders. As well, we need to have enough manufacturing capacity. If our manufacturing capacity is fully loaded, at least some of our resources are fully loaded, it's not a cash constraint situation. We have sufficient supplies. Yeah, if we have, just imagine, you have enough cash, you go to the supplier, you buy, and you get your supplies immediately or timely, then yes, you can be thinking that you have the cash constraint. But now some companies are faced, the problem is with the supply, not because they are facing the cash constraint, but because suppliers are not working and because the suppliers' factories are closed. And you have the material shortage. If you see that small increase in cash will increase sales, throughput, on time and full deliveries, profit, and available cash, then if all those conditions are met, then you have the cash constraint. So just be aware, if you are thinking that now you're losing cash and you need to apply the tools to in order to manage cash constraint, not necessarily you are having the cash constraint. Maybe you're constrained in the sales, and Elena will talk about that more. But losing cash and facing problems with the cash not necessarily means it's a cash constraint. Maybe it's just a result of other constraints or other problems. Yeah, if you focus on the wrong problem, you will worsen your situation. One of the examples Jocko Willink told during one of his speeches and during, I think, in his book, that during the battle, quite often you are facing with some problem. For example, your colleague is shot, and he's laying down and maybe even screaming. And of course, your natural reaction is to run and help him. But quite often it means you are doing the wrong action. Why? Because if somebody shot him, so probably this area is under the risk. So first action should not be run and help your colleague, but you need to secure yourself, and you need to secure and make sure that you have the fire coverage, and you will not be shot running and helping your colleague. So that's what I'm saying, that emotional actions could be more harmful as if we are doing the wrong actions. So first, what can you do to improve your cash flow? Of course, you need to face the brutal facts, evaluate your situation, and be realistic. You know, psychology tells us that that people don't like to face the bad information. People tend to check their portfolio, investment portfolio, more often when the market is growing, and they try to hide, try to ignore the falling aspects, and it's like, like try to hide the head in sand. Yeah, but you need to be realistic. You need to face the brutal facts. And you need to make the cash flow forecast statement for the next 13 weeks. Why 13 weeks? Well, it's a 1 quarter. But when you say the 1 quarter, people tend to do like quarterly basis or monthly basis. No, you need to do that cash flow forecast statement on the weekly basis. Then what you need to do, you need to take the really aggressive actions to stop the bleeding. As you really need to reevaluate the investments. Maybe you need to stop any investments you're doing now. Maybe to freeze or postpone, because now the question is about the survival, and it's not the question about improving the profits. Yeah, if your company is at a situation that your sales are not dropping because you are in providing something which people still need now, so maybe you can continue the investments. But that's the question. If you are faced with the dropping, with the sales dropping down, and you are facing with a significant, really significant shortage of cash. So first you need to really stop the bleeding. Then you need to do everything you can to improve the cash flow. Give the discounts for the clients who pay immediately, who pay advances. Get rid, sell at the significant discounts the products you don't need in short period of time. And take other actions to improve inflow. And then use the decision-making rules based on cash constraint. Yeah, and the good decisions during the regular business life is absolutely different than the decisions you need to take in order to survive, especially when you're faced with the cash flow problems. Okay, so Yelena, can you?
So do you hear me?
Yes, yes, we hear you.
Okay, good. I'm going to share my screen right now. Hold on a second.
Yeah, so I'll stop my sharing.
Okay, a second. Let's see, that's a good question. How can I right now? Okay, 1 second. Share. Okay. No, we're still on your screen. No? No. Okay, this one. A second.
Yes, we see your screen.
Okay, so I'm trying just to put it on the presentation mode. Hold on a second. Okay, now, so you can see my screen all right, yes?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so again, hi everybody. And what I want to talk today about is, it is sort of a continuation of what Nerijus said, whether not having enough money always means that we are in a cash constraint. Currently, the regular way of business operations is disrupted. This is just what Nerijus just listed. Very sort of briefly or in a condensed way, a lot of companies are closed. International deliveries are stopped or severely delayed. Tourism is on hold. Conferences, sports events, educational services are on hold, and so on. The effect is no sales. The question that many businesses ask right now, how to survive? Generally, it's about where to get money. The money is needed for the owner to have means for them and their families for daily, and for the company to pay rent, taxes, loans, employees, and probably in this sequence. I actually find it important, especially for small and medium businesses, to make this distinction that the money is needed for the owner, because the company is for the owner, or was for the owner until now, the money-making machine, and for the company to keep on operating. Then the question where to get money. Not enough money from the current business operation does not yet mean that the company has cash constraint. The cash constraint is a form of the capacity constraint, when the demand on capacity within a certain period of time exceeds this capacity. If there is no inflow of money, but operating expenses are stable, then the company starts feeling that the company is in trouble. So, As I see it, cash constraint is when the company does not have any money and absolutely cannot raise money. And this is possible, but it is very rarely the case. And that is correct, that Nereus just showed the graph that a lot of companies, about 50% of companies, would have cash less than for a month of their regular operating activity. And still, let's say if it's on average around a month, the countries announced the extraordinary order. The countries in lockdown, just the quarantines, the public places are shut down. Not a month ago. Let's say in Estonia, this happened 2 weeks ago, in Lithuania, probably now 3 weeks ago. And which means that even for small businesses, there still should be some cash in the in their, I don't know, just in the bank, just wherever they have their money. From this point of view, there should not be the panic yet, because the situation should change, and the situation will change one way or the other. This will come back to normal. We do not know when, but unlikely, my personal feeling, unlikely that it is going to stretch months or years. So then the question comes, where to get money? If the company has profits from previous years and the money is available for use, this is exactly what this money was for in the first place, to keep the company afloat in hard times. The fact that right now companies would have negative cash flow or would have no cash flow actually should not be frightening if the company has some money reserve. If you have the money on a saving account in the bank, it may be worthwhile to withdraw the money, even if you lose the saving interest or have to pay penalty. Well, another source of money, if the owner previously withdrew all cash from the company, it's the time to bring money back. If the owner wants to continue keeping the company as the money-making machine. What I would say, sell what was bought for the money that had been withdrawn from the company, even if you sell it cheaper than you bought. Generally, when people right now speak, write, I don't know, joke, or just with black humor, or when SME speaks about, when the media speaks about the problems with cash, I'm puzzled. I can hardly imagine how it happened that during 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, or 3 weeks, the countries, people, and companies and owners of the companies used up all their money. Where did the money go? If a lot of the sources that would be taking our money are closed right now, then where did the money go? How does it happen that all of a sudden companies do not have money and, let's say, company owners do not have money? Where did it go? Use your personal savings for the owner's loan. And it's like, if the owner has the money and the company is not operational right now, and the company needs money to pay taxes, to pay rent, to pay their employees, so then that feels it's sort of logical that the person would take personal money and would bring this money in the company as the owner's loan. Of course, it makes sense to do the calculation of how much it will cost you to start a new company if this one doesn't survive, and to think where you will get money for living if it doesn't. This brings us back to the first slide that I started with. The money from the company is needed for the owners to live on it, and the money that company earns is needed for the company to live on it. So if the company is going to die, what is owner going to do if that was the major source of the owner's money that the owner and the owner's family lived on? Ask your employees if they're interested in short-term investing their full or partial salaries and even their savings in your company. In other words, people will be looking at the salaries that you do not pay them now because you don't have money to pay them salaries if you don't. Then why not to offer people to look at that they left this money as the investment in your company. And maybe some of your employees have their savings and they will be willing to bring this money right now as their personal loan or investment in your company, so that you'll be able to pay rent, you'll be able to pay taxes, you'll be able to pay whatever needs to be paid. When the situation gets back to normal, and we all know that it will, and businesses revive, you will pay this loan back with interest, make the interest significantly higher than the bank, so that people will understand why they should be bringing and what for they should be bringing money into your company and helping the company right now to survive. When we're speaking about not enough sales, this means that we do not have enough orders. Market constraint means that the company has capacity to produce whatever the company produces and to sell, but there are not enough orders to fill in this capacity. So this has nothing to do with cash constraint. And actually, if the company has where to take money from to bring in money, just to have the cash injection, I'm not sure that it's correct to say that the company has the cash constraint. The cash constraint, in my understanding, would be when we do not have anywhere to take money from. And as little as we have, then just it cannot be topped up from anywhere. And then just you need to know how to operate on it. But if we do not have the influx of money in the company because there are not enough orders, then apparently we're speaking about the market constraint. And then the market constraint again, the not enough orders to match the capacity. Then the question comes where to get orders. If you're in B2C, a good starting point is to remember that people did not stop consuming. They buy. They buy, but not from you right now. Think what you can do to sell to them in the current conditions. You do not have an online ordering platform or a delivery service. Can you put a notice by the entrance door of your block of flats telling people about your products and leaving your telephone number so that they could ask you to deliver and ask your employees to do the same? If the question comes, but who will deliver? We don't have the company, we don't have the people, and if we have if we will have to use the service, it will cost us money and we don't have money. Who will deliver? You and your employees. Neither you nor they are needed in the shop if it is closed. How people will pay? What's wrong with PayPal? I'm sure that it is possible to find solutions to the decline in sales. Not in every area, that's for sure. If the government does not allow people to move right now as much as they would want to move, so people will consume less petrol. This is understandable. But people certainly do not consume less food right now. They do not consume less, actually they now even need more of the toys for their children to keep them occupied at home. They want more books, they want more video games, and so on and so on. So actually people still now, they need such services as a manicure or a haircut and so on. No platform for delivery. Set up a Facebook page and deliver through Postomats. Another idea, partner with a business that can be complementing your product. For example, if you sell flowers, find a close by bakery and check if they might be interested in working with you. Flowers mean celebration, as well as a cake. Why not to bundle? Especially that you can personalize both a bunch of flowers and a cake. And you never know, people might be willing to pay more for a special product. I cannot buy it that after 2 weeks of companies being closed or slowing down their activities, I cannot buy it that all people or most people are so right now short of money that they cannot afford spending. If you are in B2B, it is highly unlikely that all of your clients and vendors are on standstill. Bread is baked, cows are milked, electricity is produced, water is running, streets are cleaned, businesses, buses provide public transportation, and the list is actually endless. So now I'm going to read all that. It is good to remember that you as vendor is a tiny fraction of your client's business consumption, and that your client has their own clients, and that for your vendors, you are a tiny fraction of their sales, and that they have their own vendors. I think it's pretty reasonable to expect that some of your clients' vendors produce what you need, and your product might be needed by some of them. If you believe that everyone or most in your supply chain suffers from not enough money and cannot order because it cannot pay, why not to try and find out whether it's possible to build a sort of domino barter supply chain? You, your vendors, your clients. If no one has money to pay and the business has slowed down, then everyone is stuck with the excess of what they used to produce when it was business as usual. Wouldn't that be logical to expect? Which means businesses have what to pass on to other businesses. And they do not do that only because probably the client cannot pay. So then why not to figure out maybe one of your vendors or some of your clients, or maybe the vendor of your client or the client of your client has what you need, and then you can just build the chain. Your client buys from you or gets from you what you produce, so then just it gives something to just, his product to the next link, and then just to the next link, and then one of them will give what you need to you. This may sound either immature or undoable or childish, but for now, if something needs to be thought, then something needs to be thought. If a solution needs to be worked out, then probably the best idea is to start thinking out of the box. So this just what I said, this just sort of a domino barter supply chain, mini supply chain. It might not allow you to work to the full extent, but something might be better than nothing. What I certainly would not recommend, and what I've seen in just in different groups, that right now people are offering to practitioners, look, let's sort of pull our minds together and let's look at let's build the clouds, and let's look at the generic clouds, and let's develop assumptions, or let's see what we can do because this or that has become a constraint. You know, generally, just what I would say. I personally would not, I personally will not start dealing with generic clouds, and I would not recommend to start writing clouds right now. That this is not a time for dilemmas, and generally this is the time for action right now. And for the action, people need to know very well what for they need to take the action, what they need out of the thinking processes, tools, is a very clear justification how the action will bring to the desired outcome. So this is what I wanted to say, and Adele, I'm passing it to you. Okay, wait a second. that is showing from my computer. Just hold on a second.
And there was the very good comment from Katie. She said analysis by paralysis by analysis when you start working on generic clouds and so on.
Okay, so now we're going to share. We keep on sharing because a dead is showing from my computer. Share. Select an application. Do you see?
Yes.
A dead screen. Yes. Good.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. Just a bit of adding to what have been said before, especially by Nereus, regarding the actual use of the TOC thinking and the tools for managing the cache buffer. So in such a situation, what we would like to do is to achieve a situation in which the company has enough cash for a smooth operation. If people are now under severe pressure or panic regarding cash, it means that what has been available until the situation started has been disrupted, and as such, people feel extremely and practically uneasy about the cash situation. So in order to achieve that, we want to make the most of the cache that we have at the moment under the heading of exploit the cache constraint. And naturally, this is what is happening in such a situation is that the mindset is switching to cache's #1 priority. Under this scenario, there are two things that we can do immediately if it is not done. And unfortunately, I saw many people, many companies, even before this situation, by which they had the cache situation, and nevertheless, when we ask about the cash flow management and about their current situation, they could not provide easily this information. So under this scenario, what we need is, first of all, to establish the day cache on hand, the DCOH, as a major measurement, which is something that is managed every single day and several hours, several times during the day. And to augment it is to look backwards and forwards with the cache buffer, looking into the current situation, what has been the trend until now, and the projection forward. The base cache on hand, which is sort of the equivalent of the inventory on hand, is a major measurement to state the length of time the current cache can hold the company. The first view is the current situation based on the known commitments to pay out money. Cash on hand is the cash that is in the banks, in the drawers, or in any accessible holding. And the other things that needed to be done is the average daily paying out, operating expense, and the average TVC. The DCOH is simply dividing the cash by the daily paying out. We want to get a projected view. We add and augment the outgoing with potential realistic income within the near future in time buckets, such as the weekly buckets. And the projected cash is the cash of today plus the receipts that we are looking into this time bucket minus the outgoing in this bucket. And we can, with that, look into the future DCOH per date, or as the projected cash on this date divided by the daily payout. This is simple, straightforward. All of the data is there. It doesn't need more than a simple Excel file, but the picture has to be very, very accurate all of the time. So here's an example on the 2nd of March. The data that we have is the operating expenses per week on average, the TVC on per week. That leads us to the total paying out. At the date, the total cash was 263,000, 17 outgoing per day. That gave us 15 days on cash on hand. Looking into sort of the previous history, let's say from the beginning of the year, every week from the 6th of January up to March, every week we had the cash on hand and the daily payout. What we can see is that beginning of the year, there were sort of a very stable situation with like 30 days DCOH and with some slowdown that some may have happened during to the just the beginning of the year, slowed down until it picks up and then started even to go for March, end of February, even further down. And can see that the daily paying out has been sort of adjusted because management has been alert to what's going on there. Simple graphs. It shows the trend from the beginning of the year. The cash goes down and the DCOH also going down with some adjustments that were done during this period. Looking forward into the projected DCOH, then we're looking if this report was done on the 2nd of March. With this is the cash on hand. Expecting in the first 7 days to get revenues and then spending money or paying to the suppliers that already has been committed. Payroll has to be paid, rent has to be paid, taxes on the period, and there is a loan to be repaid to the bank. All of that is determining what is the net cash for the period. Is starting with 260,000, we end up with 219, and the number of days cash on hand is reducing. There is some stability for a couple of weeks, and then you look ahead and you see that within 28 days, the company will be down to about 10 days of cash out. And this is especially due to the fact that the level of sales today are slower than they have been before. And if the credit that was given to the customer was of 30 days, then we can expect that the revenues are going to be lower. With that, we can give a good picture to top management and to the owners about the current, recent, past trend and the future projection. we said build a cash flow system, when we're using the same concept of the stock buffer. And the cash buffer should clearly state the free cash on hand in terms of absolute numbers, but also additional graph should show in every point of time what is the DCOH. So regular buffer with 3 zones, green is okay, yellow, it needs management attention, and if it's red zone, we need for recovery actions to bring it up to a protected view, protected situation. So here's like an example, what has been the situation so far, what is the projected, but what we can see is that there are points by which the cash is diving into the red, and if there are going to be any hiccups in the money that is going to be received from the revenue, then the situation can be very critical. This is on cash. The equivalent graph should be done on DCOH. Okay, and the graph of the DCOH can be a little bit different, because if the management is already taking actions by which the daily outgoing is changed and reduced by avoiding things that can be avoided, then it can give the company a little bit of more space and more time to breathe. So of course comes when we have the buffers, the question is how we are going to size the buffer. And the red zone represents the livelihood of the company. It should state the minimum amount of money the company must have free on hand in order to be able to continue functioning. And it should cover the salaries for the employees, no bonuses. But again, as Yelena suggested sometime, we can negotiate and talk with the employees, considering to have voluntarily reducing, investing their salary, etc. Payment to the authorities, which is a must. Facilities, rent, utilities, payment to the banks. TVC, it's a major issue. And of course, those companies that are already on MTO, PTA, MTA, they should ensure that there is enough availability, but do not bring up or replenish to the top of the green, but maybe to top up to the middle of the yellow, and also consider whatever is it really necessary? And of course, there is the paying back of loans. And what is also critical for determining the red zone is for how long. And the red zone, in terms of the timing, should provide a company with enough money to operate until the replenishment of money arrives. And for that, we need to consider to know the money terms. The companies pay money out for TVC and OE, in anticipation of sales, and the money terms means how long does it take to get the money that has been paid out for OE and TVC, and in order to ensure that the company continues functioning. So this is in a brief, sort of like the outline of how should we manage the cash in using the cash buffer. Darius, back to you.
Yes, just a moment. Let me connect. Yes. So we heard Elena, thank you, and we heard the debt. Yes. Now we have the question session. If you have any questions, please write them in question and answer section or in discussion in chat area. I don't see the, yeah. So, you know, any say crisis situation really push us our emotional reaction, emotions to the limits, and quite often it pushes us to react based on emotional and quick response. But as we know from our experience, not always, or mainly, or maybe we should say quite often, emotional reactions are wrong. So in order to survive, you really need to make the wise and calculated decisions. And yeah, sometimes it requires some time and requires some like stepping back from emotions and making the right decisions. And sometimes you need to have somebody to talk to or just to listen to. Therefore, we decided to launch that TOCpreneur project. So we will be doing the webinars on the weekly basis in order to help small and medium owners really to live through that hard times. And so please, again, register on our platform and you'll get the information faster. Okay, any questions? Yes, Katie comment, very timely, good thoughts to consider and address. Thank you. This will be valuable series. And if you have anybody, if you have somebody or you know somebody which will benefit so of those webinars, so please feel free to share and invite them to join that platform. Do we have any more comments?
Yes, Alejandro made a comment, asked a question. Can you read it? I can't read it well.
Alejandro, okay, so
Yeah.
let me in chat. Okay, I will switch to chat. Where is my chat? Chat. Okay. I don't see. Alejandro, yes. Excellent proposal. Now, how to persuade people, persuade people to obey
How to persuade people?
to obey confination rules if they do not have enough money for buying daily food.
I assume that Alejandro means that if people don't have enough money to buy food, to bring food to the family, and if they are demanded to stay at home, then they will go out and they will be looking for just for some work, just to do the work to get immediately money, just exchange this money for the food and bring it home. Okay, I see Alejandro is writing that is correct. You won't. If you have a child that is hungry and is crying, then any parent would go out to find some work, to get some money, to bring the child milk and bread, and there will be no rule and no probably fear of punishment will stop people from providing for those whom they love. You can't. So if the government is unable to ensure that those families that live in such poverty, that they need to bring money in home daily to feed their family daily, it means that this is below any imaginable level of poverty. And but in this case, this also means that the government will not be able to impose those rules. So I don't think that anybody has a solution.
Well, the solution is, the only solution is to provide those
Yeah.
people with the,
Yeah, but you know, this is actually a subject that is just with those generic clouds or the suggestions just to find the constraint and just of the situation right now, and that the solution should be worked out for all the governments in all the countries. If we do not have the client, if a specific government, the governmental body, or I don't know, just as well, a specific organization did not come to us to ask us, and I mean us, that the TOC community, just the joint TOC practitioners, or just the people who have TOC knowledge, if they didn't come to us, and if they didn't ask us to develop the solution for them, all these efforts of trying, let's find the solution, are not only futile. This is, it is like with a Moody. You do not pull out a Moody outside of your area of authority. The cloud or any solution is to be implemented, but to implement it, one must have authority. If there is no authority, then what is the point of developing solutions? Well, what I think is what needs to be done, you know, generally, just what I think, Alejandro, why not to call volunteers? For the volunteers right now to help collecting money, or to volunteers that will be agreeing to donate some money. And why not to get from the local authorities the list of families that live below the poverty level, because these should be probably the families that are somehow, somewhere registered in the social system, in the system of social welfare. And why not to, I don't know, make a call to build up food banks, and that people, those who have money, would buy spaghetti, would buy tin food, would buy something cheap, but something that will feed those families, and that volunteers would be bringing these food banks to the areas that are known for the poverty.
David asked to show the graph again.
Nadios, are you there?
yeah, I'm here. Still the comment from Alejandro. Thanks, Elena, for your thoughts. We need to understand how long we can commit with the global change. Yes, but you know, my approach to that situation is that let's change the world one company, small company at a time. That's my approach. Again, there was the comment from David that he wanted to see the graph. If you register on the TOCpreneur platform, you'll get all the materials, all the slides for download, and the recording will be placed there as well. I don't know, do we have more questions? Looks like that's it. Okay, guys, thank you very much for your participation. Yelena and Odette, thank you for your participation.
Many thanks. Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Everybody, register on TOCpreneur, so you'll get the information on our upcoming webinars on the how to manage and how to survive this crisis.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.